What are you doing?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and call the June 2nd special meeting of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority to order. Staff, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, staff has no additions or deletions to the agenda.
The only change in the agenda, we'll do like we did last week and move public comments to after the presentation. That way, if there are any questions, we have an opportunity for them to be answered beforehand. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion to second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. So the purpose of the special meeting is to discuss and to take possible action on the statement of interest proposals. This is the second offer. The parties interested in utilizing the Lakeshore Hospital campus, all or part, to provide medical care or other services to the citizens of Columbia County through a partnership with the authority. And at this time, we will hear a presentation from Florida Gateway College. Dr. Barrett.
I apologize for my back. So thank you very much. As all of you know, we presented initial thoughts about potentially the Lakeshore Hospital building probably about 7 weeks ago. So this is our follow-up, and I just want to propose a few things, and my presentation will be probably pretty brief, and then I'm going to ask the CEO from HCA Florida, Lake City Hospital, Jill Adams, to follow me up on some things. So Florida Gateway College and the Florida Gateway College Foundation are requesting to have transfer of ownership from the hospital building to the college. And we'd like it done by December 31st, 2022. And some may ask why that date is. It's important because the legislative session begins in March. And for us to get some additional funding and so forth, that would be an important time by that date to have that done. And we're also requesting about $12 million to go to the foundation, Florida Gateway College, for repairs and development of what we're calling the FGC downtown campus. And we're also, from there, what we'll be doing is seeking out funding from either federal government, private resources, or state resources to repurpose some of the hospital to make it an educational facility for classrooms and laboratories, and put a simulation lab in there and so forth. We estimate that would be an additional $3 million for repurposing some of the 100,000 square foot campus. In addition, the college will seek out state funding from our legislators in Tallahassee. As we all know, operational costs are very challenging to get from a state perspective, as the Superintendent Carswell is here and so forth. Building sometimes is easier to receive from the state and federal government than it is operational costs. We estimate the operational cost of that building per year operating as a college campus will be about $2.3 million based on heating, air conditioning, and additional FTE, cleaning costs, and so forth. So one of the requests from the board and Mr. Williams was potential partners, and seeking out partners to fulfill some of the mission of the authority, and also that has some ties. So we do have some people here today. I'll talk about 3 potential partners for the college campus. One would be a healthcare provider who would relocate its current occupational health clinic and operate a sick clinic for Lakeshore Hospital Authority clients. That would serve current clients and an opportunity to increase the clients that would have it, and would be also open to the public. We've also been in contact with a pharmacy to offer regular hours for this population. If you look at, as you drive from Main Street over to the east side, there's really no medical providers. There is Bay, of course, pharmacy, but there's really not much in medical provision from that side on this side of town. Everything is out west. So it'd be an important thing for the community. We also have initial discussions with a partner for a research clinic for Lakeshore Hospital Authority clients and the entire population That agency is Lori Adams in Multi-Specialty Research, who currently has outpatient clinics that does research on the west end of town. They're looking to do inpatient clinical research. So that would be important for both the clients that are served by the authority and also the general public. As I said, we'll seek out additional funding. We anticipate currently we have in our allied health programs 325 students in our allied health programs, and I can tell you those programs if you wish. Majority of them are in nursing field. With this, if we could actually have this campus, we believe we could expand our academic programs to respiratory care and radiology and perhaps surgical technician programs. All experience in using clinical space for downstairs in that sick clinic, but also all our providers that we provide in the region. So we feel that we could add at least an additional 75 students, so 400 students in the downtown area. We also have 18 current faculty members in our current program. And with those additional programs and with the additional staff we would need to clean, administrate the campus and so forth, we anticipate another additional 8 FTEs would be added to this campus. So we would have about 425 people on this campus Monday through Thursday, majority of the time from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But probably some nights we would also consider that, of course. And plus, currently our security is through the Columbia County Sheriff's Department, and we would continue that agreement 365 days a year on the campus. That would be an additional plus that I did not put in for the contribution. Number 3, economic impact. With the rehabbing of the building and all of our repurposing, I estimate that it would be a $13.5 million immediate impact on the downtown Lake City community, with the multiplier effect that many of we use, about a $30 million initiative with people spending money in the downtown area at the different merchants and so forth, restaurants and so forth. Once the building is rehabbed and ready, we anticipate by 2024, we'd be ready to go in the fall for our campus. That's an ambitious goal, but we've done ambitious goals before on this campus. And I'm impolite that we have one of our board members here, Miguel Tepedino, physician here. Also with me is Lee Pinchuk, the executive director of the foundation of Florida Gateway College. So we anticipate the direct impact once those construction costs are about $7.7 million throughout Columbia County, but a lot of it, the impact would be here in the downtown community. So it would be a real big impact for the downtown community. And finally, thanks to some information I received, it talks about a record of achievement. And a record of achievement, I think, over the last 5 or 6 years is stellar. At our Lusty campus, we've rebuilt that Lusty campus and expanded it for $6 million. And we've been able to seek out both federal grants, state grants, and private donations in order to have the program that we have for public safety for corrections officers, for police officers, for EMTs, paramedics, fire training, state of the art. And we got it done with $6 million. We had somebody from St. Johns County looking at that program and said they're estimating that same campus at St. John's, understanding where St. Johns County is, it's about a $21 million project for them. So we're very proud of that accomplishment. We're also very proud of our accomplishment, and everyone in this room is invited to the opening of the STEM building. You will not see a building like this until you get to Gainesville, and I'm not even sure Jacksonville has a building that this STEM building is going to open June 30th as we open our 75th anniversary. And we did that within budget, $12.8 million. We still have some money left over for that, and it's done 3 months earlier than expected. And this time with the supply chain issue and all the issues, it's pretty phenomenal. And I think our actual contractor has really done a great job on that. And finally, we've taken over the Boys Club. That was pretty dilapidated, unknown building for about 3 or 4 years, where trees were growing out of the gutters. We've renovated that thanks to the foundation, and now have a pretty active after school program for for the community there, and we're planning on doing a lot more sports camps and so forth. And then finally, which has a lot to do with with this building, the hospital building, is our HVA system that we, the college actually did for both energy savings, and we had the old water pipes going through it. We renovated that for $8.3 million, the entire campus. So I think our record of achievement is pretty good about pulling off these things. This project is a very difficult project. I will just end on that before I turn it over to Jill. This is a challenging project. Could be the best thing that ever happened to the college, the best thing that ever happened to the community. It could also be very difficult and a very challenging time, both financially and administratively. So I'm glad our board is receptive to the idea of this. But of course, I don't speak for them, and I've not finalized this. This is part of the step in the process. And I think any of the people that are proposing anything, it's going to be a challenging process for both Lakeshore Hospital Authority and whatever person or individual or organization you decide to go with. This time, I want a great friend of the college, great friend of the community, provides a great service for all our residents. I want to turn this over to Jill Adams, CEO.
Thank you, Dr. Barrett. First, I want to say thank you to the board. We like to be a valued partner already with the authority board with treating your clients and providing services to them. Our founding physician of our company, Dr. Tommy Frist Sr., who I got to meet early in my career, said something I've never forgotten: good people beget good people. And when the college reached out and we began to discuss this, I think one of the things that I think about first and foremost is I would partner with Florida Gateway College any day because they are good people. And so very thankful for that. Have a good bit of our senior leadership kind of on the back row back there. And so some of our board is here as well. I want to thank you for coming, and some of our folks out of Tallahassee, and thank the community for coming. Lindsay, our Director of Communications, has a fact sheet that we want to provide. And she'll take a minute and give that to the board members and try to get that in and out to everyone. This shares a little bit about us. For years, gosh, I can remember when we had 200 FTEs. Lori probably remembers that. We go way back, and we're up to 700 employees at Lake City Hospital. And what some people may not realize is we do provide a lot of care to the uninsured and the underinsured. So in 2021, we provided almost 40,000 patients between our ER visits and admissions in this community. We provided that care, and we also provided care to the authority patients, and worked really well. Great team here, Dale. We appreciate that. And I wanted to share a few things before we talk about what we could do on with the college and partner with the college, is what we are doing to expand in this community. We did lose something in this community when we lost Shands Lakeshore. We lost the availability of beds. I went back to the state reporting system for 2019, and that hospital in 2019 had an average daily census of 23 patients. That did go down pretty drastically in 2020, but I will tell you, as of yesterday, we now have added 22 beds in total to our capacity. So July of last year, in the height of COVID, we added a 12-bed unit on our third floor. And as of yesterday, Sam, Angie, and the team opened at another 10 beds. So effectively, we have in this community, as of yesterday, opened enough beds to, within one of ADC, treat the patients, but we're not stopping there. So those projects are in the works. We also, and Lindsay has a real pretty picture, we are expanding our emergency department. So right now, if you go by, you'll see construction, fencing. We're having to change the entrance. We're more than doubling the size of our ER to accommodate the patients in the community, also doing some support services. What's real exciting for us is that last Wednesday night, the team and I pitched the largest project We thought the 41 million was the largest project that this community would see. We pitched a $100 million project to our group office. That project has been approved conceptually by the group. We did have to rewrite some paperwork that happened yesterday. That project will bring another 28 beds to this community. It will bring a second cath lab so that we can expand services. It will expand our surgical services. So right now we have 3 ORs. It will take us to 5 operating rooms. And it builds a tower, so more critical care, more med-surg beds. What we really like about it, it is a 3-story tower with capacity to continue to grow. When we complete that tower, if it is approved, because that is in development, we will be in this community a 185 bed facility. As we were 67 beds when we moved into that facility out there. And I think HCA has really invested because of this community. It's interesting, over the years I have watched, being with the company 30 years, I've watched us going from being a feeder facility to Gainesville, everybody choosing to go to Gainesville, to where everybody wants to stay within the community. We no longer are seen within HCA as that feeder. They want us to provide that care close to home, which is the reason why we have a $41 million project that's already 10 beds opened of it. ER's quickly going. We're having to expand services out the back. We're here. I will tell you that these projects take time. The 3rd floor, when I worked on that and we opened that in 2016, I'd worked on that project for 15 years. This $41 million project didn't take quite as long. I started that project again, I think 2017, 2018, got it funded in 2019, but it takes a long time to get a project through. And as you can tell, a lot of money, even to a building that's currently operating. With that, I think it's very important for us. What is the number one issue facing everyone today, besides inflation? Workforce. I doubt any of us in here have been immune to that, whether we've been inconvenienced because we're driving to Ken's Barbecue all the way across town versus getting to get it right there on Highway 90, right? Workforce. We have 169 vacant positions today at our facility that we're having to fill with overtime, part-time, PRN, and contract labor, which is very expensive option, but it also typically is not our best option in terms of someone that's really committed to an organization. Lori, being in healthcare, knows those things really well. These projects, the ones that are approved, including the one that's under development right now and it's in its final stages of approval, another 169 jobs. It's interesting, those numbers were the same, but Sam or Lindsay and I went through every single presentation and went to our FTEs, and another 169 jobs. I say that to tell you, we are partnering with the college because the way we continue to provide healthcare to your clients is through workforce. We have to have the workforce. We need radiology to be added in this community. We need respiratory therapists. We need lab technicians, and we need more nurses. And so this is a great partnership. Now you might say, that's our why. Why would we partner? And then what are we going to do? I will tell you, we have our corporate office support to relocate, or if the college were to be awarded this, if the board were to move in that direction, we do have approval to relocate our company care occupational health clinic that does all the pre-employment screening for a lot of the major employers in town. It does workers' comp, injuries, and it also manages our staff. But so we do sick visits for our Lake City Hospital staff at that clinic. It's managed with a provider and a nurse. And it would bring that downtown in this area closer to our county offices, our school board office, so that we could have things closer. If you had someone to hurt themselves, trip and fall at work, they needed to be treated, we would be there to do that. But what we want to do too is offer actually exclusive sick clinic visits to your clients. And that means if one of your clients wakes up and has pink eye and can't go to work, we can help take care of that for them. If one of them wakes up with a cold or a cough and they want to be treated, we can take care of that for them. Right here, downtown, on campus, in this area. We also feel, and we talked about this before, that one of our roles would be able to help them get into a primary care clinic, that you're already working. We know that for the health of your clients and the health of the community, primary care is very important. And we're looking to recruit that, more of that into the community, but you already have that. You have primary care. So we want to help those clients that come to us for sick visits get into primary care, help set that follow-up appointment for them. That might take them out of coming to see us, but it does get them into more of the preventive maintenance, keeping on top of maybe blood sugar issues or blood pressure issues, things like that, that keeps them out of the hospital. So that we already have approval to move forward if the college were afforded. Our lease is up in the next few years. So we've actually checked the timing. And so that's something that if this were to work out and if no major changes, that is something that we could do that we feel would be a good option to be able to provide here in the downtown area. So certainly would like to partner with the college, continue to be a good partner with the authority board and with the community. We pay $3 million in taxes in state and local and property tax. We pay almost $1 million annually in property tax. And you know, with these projects coming on board, if the property appraiser's in here, they're gonna know, we follow with them. They know we're doing the projects. But so we'll be paying more in taxes. And we're just excited. You know, we want to continue to live our mission. And in closing, that's what we're about every day, above all else. We're committed to the care and improvements of human life. And that includes your clients and our community. And that's what we have to do. That's it.
I might have to bring Jill up. She's better.
Have any questions, comments from the board?
Dr. Barrett, is it too early to ask what your early plans are for the cafeteria?
I didn't know how detailed you wanted me to get into that.
I'm more curious than anything.
Basically, after reviewing the building and so forth, the current commercial kitchen you have in there, we would have to redesign 16 gas stoves in there for each. The maximum you can have in a culinary program is about 16, and we'd have one student to each of those stoves. The actual conference rooms are adjacent to the actual cafeteria, would act as classrooms, so that would be very limited redo or repurposing of that building at all. And then we anticipate that we would open as a hospitality culinary program in there and operate probably actually one day a week, and perhaps actually supply the food for lunches and so forth for the people in the facility there. But you have to be very careful when you open these kind of facilities not to hurt the downtown business campus and so forth. So we would be very careful of that. So that would be, I'd also like to mention that we were approached by a couple of other purposes for the hospital. For some reason, a lot of the community has reached out to me that we're healthcare provider opportunities. The lake, they've consolidated all the radio stations, has asked for a spot for about 3,000 square foot in that building to lease. I'm not sure about that, but those are some of the things. And also I've been approached about offering some medical examining coroner office in that building. So those are not purposes of the authority, but I will mention those to you. Does that answer your question, Deb?
It does. Thank you.
Dr. Barrett, which buildings you all asking for?
Just the one building.
Just the one
And
main
and
hospital
the
campus?
parking spaces, yes.
Okay.
One of the other things I mentioned, Mr. Superintendent Carswell, the best superintendent in my region. I tell him all that. Him and I have had some preliminary discussions as late as yesterday about potential of a charter school for health sciences, very early stages, and we would collaborate together, the Columbia County School District and Florida Gateway College. And we're both excited with that idea. If it doesn't happen at the hospital location, we'll think of another location. Right?
Of the whole building, about how much of the square footage would you utilize, let's say, in the first few years?
I would see it as a transition. I would say that when we do this, we would do, I think the culinary, it's all about funding, about our funding situation. But I think the first thing would be to try to get the sick clinic in there as soon as possible. If our partnership with the research specialties happens, but I would anticipate, I would want to start our nursing program up in there as fall of 2024 with the hope that we would do respiratory care and radiology. Much easier to open it all together than it is piecemeal. So when you ask, when would I want to do that? I would say that we would try to do it all together rather than piecemeal.
So of the floors, say floors, how many floors would those programs?
I would anticipate that, I mean, we've started conceptually, actually, we're dealing with Pittman Associates about what walls we could take out and each of the floors and everything. I would anticipate we would use the first floor immediately, and probably the fourth floor for, and perhaps one of the middle floors, either second or third floor quickly. Probably one of the floors we would probably mothball for a little while until we knew what we would have to do. But we have a lot of work to do in there, simulation lab that we would be able to utilize and so forth. And if you want to know specific funding, how we would go about the funding, I can talk about that briefly. But once again, it's not been anything official and it's a process and it's sometimes a long process of some of this stuff.
Look at that. How are you gonna fund it?
So if, let's say you, in your presentation, you mentioned December 31st, 22, and then going later for legislature for funding after that. Not to be a naysayer by any means, but if for some reason, let's say we transfer ownership to the college, in March, you go ask for funding and we don't get it, what? happens
Well, I
at
would
that
ask
point?
that we would probably, as we get into the real details, that's why I said it's like making sausage. That we would have a revert clause that would turn back if we couldn't get our funding and so forth. To turn back to you, back to the authority. I will say that there is significant potential to workforce investment money for rehab and repurposing buildings. I believe the governor has set aside $60 million for next year for potential opportunities. Realistically, in order to get, if someone says to me, can't you just do that with, ask them for the full 12 million, we're not in Lake City gonna get a third of that money or a fourth of that money. So I just want to be realistic. The other option we would look at is actually looking at federal monies, potentially. That now they're doing earmarks again at the federal level, but also there are some agencies that such we did in Alusty that we could actually fund for the first time projects, construction projects with federal money. That was the first time in the history of the college that's done that. It's very difficult to get that. But we did that because of the hurricane. We were considered a disaster area in this area. That we were able to find that one. Now, I will also tell you full disclosure, part of the statutes say in the state of Florida that in order for, and one of the reasons why the foundation, we pass all property transfers and so forth through this foundation. But one of the specific reasons why it would have to happen with this project was, and that's where, once again, money comes into play, is that according to statute, we cannot take over a building, the college itself, without having operating money from the legislature. So I continue to say, the construction is a challenge, but the bigger challenge is the operating dollars. So during a period of time that we would take over, the foundation would have to, which is once again, another board we have to deal with, would have to keep the heat on, keep the lights on, keep the air conditioning on during that period of time until we had that commitment from this.
Until that commitment happens, are we on the hook to keep it alive?
No, not until the transfer of the ownership happened, then it would turn over to us.
Okay.
I would not ask for you for operating money for that at all. I think that's inappropriate to do. You know, though they would say it's inappropriate to ask you for any money, so. Yes,
And I'm an accountant, so this is an odd question. Are the 400, you currently have about 400?
325 students in our nursery.
Okay, so are you meeting the demand of the applicants, or do you limit it?
We need, well, we limited because we're trying to expand our programs. This fall, we're gonna actually do for our nursing program, actually a fall, which still doesn't even know. We're actually doing a fall acceptance and we're starting another cohort in January. Because the need for the hospitals is just not at HCA, Florida, Lake City, it's all over. And the need is, I believe, and right now it's, there are 30,000 nurses short in the state of Florida.
Okay, so what prevents you from expanding?
Absolutely not. Well, the problem is cost. Health programs are very expensive to run, very expensive with clinical. Currently, our nursing program costs are about $17,000 per year per student. And the amount of money we get from tuition and from the state allocation, we do a cost analysis report, as you know, and we receive about 7,000. So we're subsidizing for each nurse 10,000. So we need to subsidize that through a liberal arts school program or a lesser program that doesn't cost as much money from an enrollment standpoint. So it's a challenging thing. So as we expand, one of the great things is the governor has given us $1.8 million for nursing expansion. We don't know exactly in this year's budget. It's been approved and he signed it. We don't know where we can utilize that money, but we're anticipating we're going to use it for expansion of nursing. So those other 75 students would be created by the programs of radiology, radiography, respiratory, very intensive programs. And you will not see a college like us or any other college accepting more than 16 to 20 students in that because of clinical experience. So that's going to be an ongoing. Give you an example, physical therapy assistant right now is declining because the market has pushed out a lot of physical therapy assistants. So you'll see that starting to come down. And in employment, you'll see a lot more of those students that are graduating doing per diems and so forth. It used to be a big full-time thing. So it's a cyclical thing, but I do not anticipate nursing, radiography, or respiratory to be any problem. And there'll be plenty of jobs in Lake City and in our surrounding counties too.
Thank you. Have you given, or do you have a breakdown of, specific breakdown of the 12 million?
No, but we're looking at it from a standpoint of using the report that I received back from 2017. And we were initially, if you remember, we had asked, the initial thing was about 10 million, but because of with costs and logistics and looking at that, the biggest concerns for the college, and I think anybody that would present to you, is the issue of the roofs. The skin issue, which there's 2 or 3 solutions to the skin issue, and you have an excellent facilities manager that I'd love to steal from you if we ever got that, that has worked some magic with that to see about the moisture levels and so forth, in building that we think could be a little lesser. And of course, I mentioned the roofs, and then of course the boilers and so forth. Those are real concerns that I have, especially I have the biggest concern personally of the skin issue. And I'm glad I've met with that because I see the moisture on the walls and so forth. And so I've seen the diagrams, and we have had Pittman and Associates look at it. We've had our own facilities people look at it. So I'm just estimating that was, some people will say it's even more money than that, but I would estimate that that would be the cost. And we would, if we went to the next step, we would really do a full-fledged evaluation of that.
Would that 12 million ask to stay the same?
It wouldn't be exceed that.
Okay.
All right, let me be. I would not exceed that. But
Dr. Barrett, I think you've answered most of my questions, and Jill, Ms. Adams, I appreciate your input on this too, but I do have just a couple. I assume that this could not be done without both the building and money.
I knew someone was gonna ask me that question.
Just didn't think it was going to be me.
This would be the preferred option, and I think it would put us in a position, both the college and the authority in the best position. Could it be accomplished by the college just getting the transfer of the building? Yes, however, I think at that, and I'm, most of you know, I'm pretty direct, okay, about my process. I am not sure that we would be able to pull off those renovation costs, and probably the most logical solution to the problem would be to raise the building and to build something new for the college, quite frankly. I mean, that is, because I think it would be a much easier ask from a legislative point, but if I went for state money for that, they would not give me that money for, just for rehab. Not at all. For a new building, potential. For renovation, I'm gonna tell you, I see Liz Porter here, and I see, but I think that would be a very difficult ask. Federal monies potentially, but I'm saying that there is some potential there, but it's a much more complicated and much more longer process that the property would probably remain unused and not for the community.
Help me out a little bit on your economic impact, because I barely passed how to balance a checkbook 101 in college. So could you give me a little idea as far as how you arrive at the figures on the economic impact?
So those direct monies that would be going into the building directly right up front
Yes, sir.
would be the 13.5.
Yes, sir.
The multiplier effect is when contractors come, like we had Gray Construction for our STEM building. Majority of them are local, but I believe 50 to 60 of them spent over 90 days in the local hotels spending money. So there's a multiplier effect that usually saves between 2 to 3 times when you have a direct economic construction project. So those are estimates, but those are real dollars. The 13.5 is real dollars. The other ones you could say that's fuzzy math, but I mean, this realization of it is that money would be going into downtown and into the hotels and places like that. So $30 million was where I came up with that economic impact.
And then I'm assuming that the schedule on the campus would be correspond with that of the schedule with the main campus, meaning the school year.
And that's why the
9,
transfer
10
would happen
months.
to happen, and most likely summer is the least amount, even though our nursing program will be going to a year-round nursing program rather than having summers off. That was just finalized 2 weeks ago, so this was planned on having some time to transfer. I will also tell you the current building, McCray building, would be converted into a technical, either potentially, if we couldn't get something done with the situation with charter school, but the plan would be to make that a vocational technical training building where we do plumbing, electrical, and add what I would call other trade skills in that building. So we would currently repurpose our business. That has nothing to do with money here or anything like that.
But as far as this campus, it would only be 4 days a week.
Well, there's lots of potential with online learning. If I was before you 5 years ago, I would say we'd have weekend colleges and all sorts of night programs, but a lot of the general liberal arts courses before nursing are all done online or would be done on campus. And really the traditional campus, as you know, at least in our main campus, is mainly Monday through Friday. And on Fridays, we have Monday through Thursday, and on Fridays, we have intensive labs where we once again might be using labs here on a Friday. I can't. I would just go with our traditional schedule.
Yes. And how would that affect you, Ms. Adams, as far as your operation
We would be open Monday through Friday.
Friday? Okay.
It would be normal business.
And during the holidays also, when the college is closed for 2 weeks during the
Yes, we
holidays?
would, yeah, we would hope we would have we'd have to have an external entrance, that we would be open Monday through Friday. I mean, we do close this clinic, on Christmas Day. It's not a 24/7, but we're open normal business.
And we would have administrative functions Monday through Friday.
Yes,
We would not have
that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Jill, if on the campus, one of the other buildings, not the main building, was used for some form of other medical care provision, let's say an urgent care center, would that in any way impact the sick clinic that you're proposing?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, one, we would primarily be there for occupational health clinic. A lot of the growth, we're out near Hayco, where we have Nutrient as a client. We'd like to pick up New Millennium, and I'm not for sure, Sylvia may know, they're a client of ours today. It's about helping people who start new jobs, bus drivers, for example, get their physicals, and then also we provide that work comp care, and we help employees get back to work. So we work with employers at this clinic to help. Our number is 755-WORK, because our client at Company Care is the employer. So, that would not impact us, because that's not, sometimes urgent care does that business, and that's fine, but we actually are business partners with urgent cares in town. So certainly if an urgent care could go to one of the other buildings, it would be up to you, the board, if you wanted us to continue to provide the sick visits at Medicaid rates. One of our things that we feel, once again, is we don't want to compete with primary care or urgent care. That's not our book of business. It's not what we're about. It's about helping to serve your clients and then help them get into primary care, because once again, that usually keeps them out of the ER. It sometimes keeps them from being admitted if they get that preventative care early. So an urgent care being in the area, that's okay with us, that we consider urgent care as one of our partners in the community.
And Dr. Barrett, that kind of leads to the bigger question. With the other buildings on that campus, are there any types of medical related uses for those buildings that would be opposed to by Florida Gateway?
on Lake Shore campus.
Yes.
No, I mean, I'm not sure, once again, I see consolidation as one of the challenges with our current campus, our large campus, is we have so many. When it was designed as a community, small business, small buildings. So we have 25 small classrooms. And you can imagine trying to deal with 25 small classrooms with the HVAC situations and so forth. So I see it, yes, we would be open to looking at those other buildings, but I'm not sure supply and demand for that. And
Well, it's not so much asking y'all
Trying
if
to see
you're
if we could
interested in them.
use-
I just want to make sure that, should this play out, the other buildings need to be utilized also. We would not want to do something adverse or not do something without disclosing.
No, absolutely. And I
Um,
see it as, even just taking my president's hat off and so forth. For downtown campuses, there are successful in rural areas, and there are some across the country. I've looked at them. I've also looked at some that brings other economic development. It may bring additional healthcare things that primary care. It may bring other people. It's a synergy, whether it's healthcare or not. You have a property here in order to develop downtown and really make it flourishing for the community and so forth. I think we could be the anchor of that. And regardless of what you put in those other buildings, I think it naturally attracts. And I think that immediately talks about it standardized. And it also helps the community around this area too, very much so.
It's not an internet cafe, right? You don't want it.
Well, I have to tell you, Dale, when I first got here, that was a true story. I'm this northerner and I see all these internet cafes and I'm told that the internet's bad here. I said, why do they have so many internet cafes? And my staff for 3 weeks never told me. I said, I'm gonna go to one of those internet cafes and I'm staying in Mike Lee's place in Fort White. And they're like, why are you going there? So in all honesty, you learn when you learn.
Anything else?
Dr. Barrett,
No, sorry.
you addressed the transfer of the real property and the building. And there may be a reversionary interest to the authority where it would revert back if you did not secure operating costs funding. How would you, how do you envision the transfer of the actual monetary funds? And please don't say small bills because that drives Mr. Powell crazy. Would you want it in escrow
I
until you
think so. I mean,
secured funding?
and once
or-
again, a disclosure of this is that Mr. Fiegel is not representing the college on this. It would be Megan Logan. Megan, that's who he referred to on this as a attorney. And so Megan would be helpful with us. So we have reached out to Megan and so forth. She has agreed to do that for us based on Mr. Fiegel's perceptive of former conflicts. So Megan, so I would work that out through our, I think that's where the details, there's a lot of details that we would have to work. But yeah, we wouldn't ask for small bills, Mr. Powell. And but the thing is that, and perhaps we do I don't know how we would do it. Perhaps as we build, as we get contracts and stuff, we show you how we build. There's ways we've done it. Most of the time we do drawdowns on any of these construction projects. So we have to prove that we've done our due diligence. We've gone through our proper channels as a state and so forth. Because we have to follow all the procurement initiatives that many of you do. So, and so we have to, that's how we do things. So I would say, maybe I'm not the finance person, so I wouldn't say, give me the 12 million. If you wanted to give me the 12 million, I would say, let's do it in a drawdown situation. So if we have a contract and we start working on the skin of the thing and those issues, we have a contract, we do procurement, and this is what the drawdowns would be. I would encourage us to do it that way.
The foundation would be able to sustain the operating costs from January 1 until funding.
Well, I don't want to make it, I
secured.
do not want to
I
make a
think
commitment
that-
from the foundation, but I mean, once again, I do not have the firm confirmation of the board. They've given me permission to come forward of my board, but then there's also the foundation board, and that's how we did the smaller project of the Boys Club. That's how we did it. So I don't want to make any promises to the board. I do not represent, I can't represent them, but that would be a process that we would go through rather quickly with the foundation if this moved forward. So,
Chairman Neal, if I could also mention, based on what we've seen for providing care to the authority board clients from a hospital perspective, I think last month was $1,800. 1 month's been $400. It, is, it at least appears based on this presentation and what we would continue to be able to do, it would not require taxes to be reinstituted as a part of this plan. And I did want to mention that because we do want to continue to serve the clients, but I think it is important for everyone to know that we're able to do that. Of course, if the client base grows, that would change. But right now, based on the current patients we're seeing and the current care we're providing, it is, a lower amount, certainly not in the hundreds of thousands, certainly not in the millions. So like I say, I think last month was about $1,800 that was paid.
Jill, a little bit off subject, but for these patients that y'all are seeing, have y'all been successful in getting any of them enrolled for Medicare, Medicaid?
Yes, we actually do.
Good.
We have a full-time, we call it a public benefits coordinator. It's been a full-time position we've had for at least 5 years. They actually work to qualify patients for disability They help connect them over the phone. They will help them complete their application. So they actually look at all sources of potential support that they can get in the community. So that's the reason why we call it the Public's Benefit Coordinator. So they look from a Medicare perspective, disability, Medicaid, and we also have the authority board criteria and packages that we can provide patients as well. So we work and actually work very closely with those patients. It is a little difficult,
Yeah.
but we do have some success, especially in inpatient when they're needing post-acute services in the skilled nursing world. That's usually when a family and a patient really does help work with you, because that is when they can get that longer term care they need. So we have a lot of our patients we call Medicaid pending, and we're actually able to get a good bit of patients qualified when they're transitioning into a skilled nursing facility. That's usually when the interest is a little bit stronger, because they do need that post-acute care. So we do that and have provided that for probably greater than 5 years. Time flies. So, but that is a full-time position we have. Actually, within our company, every hospital has that.
Good.
Any other questions or comments?
I have one question. Have you looked into the requirements for radiology training and respiratory training?
Very intensive, very
Yes,
expensive, but very
Uh,
intensive.
for accredited programs.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's through ACAP, so, which we currently have with our physical therapy program. It's tough. Those are tough programs, very expensive programs. So that's why with Surge Tech, I'll mention Surge Tech. It's one that I really don't want to do. It's per faculty member, six students per faculty member, plus a clinical person. So that's how expensive that program is. But I have had experience both with radiology and respiratory in other institutions, so I understand the challenges.
We certainly appreciate the college and HCA Board of Lake City Hospital presentation tonight. At this point, we will set public comments. Leslie?
I will say the same thing I've said many times. This authority needs to give away the building. College, they can do whatever they want to with Lake City Medical Center. Lake City Medical Center seems to have done a fine job meeting the purpose of the authority, which is to provide for insurance care. One of their board members has called the building a dinosaur, and he referenced that being a dinosaur. You can't rebuild a dinosaur. It would be best to me to give the building, talk about funding, just raise the building. Someone told me it probably costs about $4 million to get rid of it. We can get rid of the building, get the property, let them get new money, and be done with it. And as a board member, I would not want to be sitting in your spot, because you probably get calls, we need this, we need that. My thought is, we don't need this. It's an antiquated system. Government does not need to be in healthcare. And I still feel this is an illegitimate board, because we do not have a hospital. And if we do not have a hospital, we're not meeting the enabling legislation, which states one board member will be on staff at the hospital, and there is no hospital. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Mr. Lothar,
Yeah, I can do that from here, so, is it all right?
you speak loud enough, yes, sir.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. That's all. Stu Wilker, Columbia County Observer. One question for the college would be, and I guess the medical center, is when did you two begin talking about making some sort of collaboration?
Mr. Lothar, if you will, just.
Sorry, that's the question. You can ask and answer.
I'm sorry.
I said, and you can ask and answer. That's my question.
Okay.
The next question is, if the healthcare charter school, which was my idea months ago, actually, didn't come to pass with the college, would that eliminate having a healthcare charter school at all on this campus anyplace? In other words, if the college didn't get the building, the hospital, would that eliminate the healthcare charter school, which is an excellent idea, and clearly there's funding for that in the state right now. So that's a question. And I'm writing it down, so I guess you'll remember, right? Good deal. I don't understand any kind of primary care clinic. If the college takes over the hospital, so far what I got from the Lake City Medical Center is they're gonna do some sort of work-related medical care there. But if somebody needs some kind of care at the hospital, because the hospital building so far will still be there, unless Dr. Barrett gets the state to pay to make it go away and build a new facility, which, you know, is probably not impossible. The state's got billions right now. But if the hospital stayed there and somebody needs indigent care over the weekend and Lake City Medical Center is inhabiting part of that building, will the indigent or anybody who needs medical care be able to go into that hospital building and get the care after 5 o'clock or on the weekends? But it's 3 questions. Good luck.
Thanks. I think it would be an occupational.
Well, I think they need to ask her, unless you know all the answers, then I'll take the answers from you. And you represent the government, so let's,
They answered a couple of them, anyhow.
so the question, the first one was, when did they start talking to each other? Do you know?
I don't,
Can we find out?
not tonight.
Not tonight, when?
Actually, you may be able to find out tonight after the meeting. You'll be able to ask them.
Say again?
She can ask them after the
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
so Fred comes up with the answers, that's fine.
I can answer that. after the
And
meeting,
the
too. I don't know
healthcare
how
charter school,
Good the answer would be.
we don't know about that either, you're not gonna ask that. I understand you represent the government might like to know. The governor has a vested interest in this. If the college gets the hospital building, you may get the governor, the legislature, that you may move the thing forward to raise the building and build a whole new building. You represent the governor, you clearly don't represent the residents of the county. So what, you don't know about that either? And the primary care, do you know anything about that?
I don't think there was any primary care mentioned.
So nothing, so if they take over the hospital, there won't be any care over the weekend for anybody or at nights? Is that right?
It wouldn't be a hospital, it'd be a college campus.
No, but there's the Lake City Medical Center wants to get involved in there. Clearly, they have doctors and nurses and stuff. So do you know what's going on?
Yes, sir.
So would there be?
No,
Could ask them,
I could, yes, sir.
so, but you're not going to.
Not at this point, it was in the presentation, it would be something besides urgent care, so.
Thank you. You've answered my questions.
Is there any other comments this evening? Anybody on Zoom call as well? None? Any other board comments? No. We've exhausted the agenda. We'll adjourn.